I wondered whether treasure trove law is entirely UK law, or is there anything that is Scots law in at the back of it?
So treasure trove is Scots law. It is Scott common law. The rest of the UK is covered by the Treasure Act. Don't know if this is working. It's covered by the Treasure Act. So in England and Wales in particular, where metal detecting is quite popular, it is a much more limited definition of what treasure is. So gold, silver, hoards, prehistoric base metal hoards, basically. Although they have just added a significance criteria as well. So up here, it's everything. Down south, it was a mist, if you like.
The other question was, Crichton, are there any powers that you have to be able to enter, or is it purely the individual?
We take the view that if we're not welcome, we shouldn't attend. We want to work with people. It's about collaboration for us. It's an opportunity, but at the end of the day, most of the material we see doesn't have a context. It's unfortunate that in this case, the landowner wasn't happy with us going off site. It is what it is. We don't want to become an enforcement body. We don't want to force ourselves onto people's land and excavate. That's not the way you want to work. So we are very much sort of ingratiating ourselves rather than having the police call, knock on the door.
I can sort of add to that from the local authority point of view. We can. We don't often, but if the data that TT is collecting is of significance or that level of significance, we can, and HES can, wherever they are. So there is that backup, but that all relies on the data that Emily's team is collecting, getting passed to us, and us being able to act on it.
And I think it has to be a high bar. We can't, as a team of 6, we can't deal with absolutely everything. And we don't want to be seen as that team that imposes on people. We want people to come to us and work with us. So, yes.
Cool. Just to add to the sort of wet aspect to the treasure trove question, below mean water, high water springs, the fine stuff becomes the receiver Rex responsibility. What aspect do you look at for riverbed and lochbed finds, again, in terms of removing them from their location? And I'd like to know more about outreach and that sort of aspect.
We don't get many of those. We do have the odd diver who's keen, and again, it's if they have landowner permission, they can do it. We don't have many people that are doing it. Most people that are finding things are metal detectorists, and they are not venturing into the water. But I do know there's been a bit of a rise in magnet fishing and interest in that. So far, we've had lots of objects reported to us from canals, not necessarily lots in rivers, but I suspect more will be coming. Again, it's one of the things that isn't covered in our code of practice. Our code of practice is 20 years old plus, hence why we've had the review. And magnet fishing is certainly one of the things that we're going to be looking at, as well as everything else. So I think we need more guidance on that, because we didn't know it was a thing 20 years ago. So more work, unfortunately, for us.
I know about that. See, the best. I've got one question for thanks. I stopped with the new weights. I see a couple of one season with its regards to the foreign. They were because spice demos got in the other basic chain. The study we don't know.
No, we haven't. No, they have been compared against the rapper ones in terms of the form, which is the dating evidence reverse. But
I still want to about to like see why not. Well, thought that's how it goes out to bed. Should shows the. But
this is also for Harry about his lean weight. I love lean weights. They're very, very Saxon lean weights, which is interesting because you're in Northumbria. But have you done any work? I've never personally seen one north of the border. Have you done Do you know what the distribution of them is in the north?
There are a number of sites around Edinburgh and in southern Scotland. There's ones at Rathbow, there's ones in Dunbar, there's ones at Fallowville Rig, Winnie Farm. That got data as well. That's not been published, but that's there as well. Those were all smashed up. But yeah, so there are a number of them. I don't actually have the results. The specialist has done the analysis, but she found at least 6 or 7 other sites. Yeah.
Sorry, cool. Like, so on the banger. And yes, Facebook fires by the papers. And about
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Fallowville Rig, yeah.
then
Thank you. My question is about the grooved pebble, which was mentioned, I think, at Dalhousie. And that is it possible that it could have been used like more as a tool rather than as an object being created in its own right, being rubbed against something else to shape the something else?
The pebble itself seemed to just be natural in form. It didn't actually seem to show any evidence of wear on it. It seems to just be a form of decoration. It has just been thought to be a sort of personal ornamentation, but it's sort of a one-off, someone creating it, and it is possible somebody working the furnaces was bored one day and just carved a pebble at the end of the day. But yeah, there's no evidence of actual wear on the pebble itself.
Thank you. I was thinking of it being used like a whetstone.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Just thank you. All the speakers, really interesting, fascinating stuff. My question's for Thomas. And you skirted over, and you haven't got that much time, but the actual coal working. And I was just fascinated by the number of two working pits that seemed to be dug. Whenever the medieval people were digging for coal, they just dig straight down and then moved along and dug another pit, so there was no traversing off the coal seam. I mean, it just seems that is fascinating insight into how medieval people, I didn't actually know that they actually used coal for their start, but how they actually got it, why they got it, seems like a really interesting story.
Yeah. So one or two of the features, the coal pits, seem to be sort of these bell pits, which are sort of the classic medieval way of digging. And they just dig straight down until they hit the full and then expand out with Seinfeld shapes. And up and down there from a ladder or something. The problem we have is we don't tend to go too deep in our excavations, partly as well for safety. So, like I say, we only less than half of what we dug, or about half of what we dug, we didn't actually get to the bottom of. So it's hard to say how deep they are, and the whole problem with all of that is, all I can say is some of them are probably medieval, some of them are probably these bell pits based on that there's a sheer drop in these ones, as opposed to some of the later ones that were sort of more shallow. So in terms of getting them out, what is medieval, what's not, is so difficult to determine. All I can say is some of them probably are, but classically it's these sort of bell pits that you get, and there's definitely a few of those, I think, on site. That was probably the biggest. So it's this industrial landscape. I think there's a top of the point. And yesterday, I thought the van of Euclid Bolt, rather than just basically those scenes, the further, that Evanson actually saw, but it's actually surface, like 4 or 5, and just go above that hill, west side, to by under the pole. The lake was on top of this, and probably about 4 or 5 other years mine working there. And city growing a seaside basis. I was did it all in 1 year. No one ever got worried about that. And some part didn't you? So the selling back knowledge as then got the side. Strange. So we maybe go beside nothing to go be accepted to the good God. So then the West Road was tech they have to go, yeah, out of my area to well on the rest, that's the middle of the right, but they have that all of the and it's a memorial there. So I that's on the team that is yeah, I did that until we were dying. Well, anyway, well, we felt about some of that else.
Just a quick question. Working back from the teens returns of 1627, there were lots and lots of lime pits in that area. Were there any at Edmonstone? I'm quite surprised that you didn't find that.
Nothing obvious. There was a lot of limestone working in sites and forests, but nothing obvious that are lime pits, I would say, anything.
Well, not very then.
This is more a comment than a question, and it's on this subject of the coal working. Did you study the geology of the area? Because the coal seams around Astor's Seat tend to be vertical rather than semi-horizontal, and therefore you would get this linear effect of a coal outcrop across the land. And just by digging down, you would find the coal. I know this because many years ago, I went down Gilmerton Colliery, and Gilmerton Colliery was mined vertically. There was a shaft, and then there were horizontal adits worked out from the shaft. And the adits had holes to a lower level so that trucks were loaded from the bottom. The coal was shot down the hole into the truck and then hauled up the shaft. And it's because of the presence of the Archaeology Seat volcano, which has thrust all the seams up. That would suggest the alignment. And I think it's important to understand the underlying geology of the situation.
There's that dog. I just like it's done. It was for the morning. He took past it. I also felt